What's up everyone, Sean Count Blaggerth here today with another album review, this time of the 2014 Binder and Recordings release of Brotherhood by Falls of Rauros and Panopticon. If you are not familiar with these two bands, they are both United States atmospheric black metal bands that play what I would consider to be a very familiar style of atmospheric black metal, very reminiscent to bands such as Wolves in the Throne Room and Weakling, but they have a much more of a true American rooting, and that's something that I have to say is something that's very unique to these two bands. And to say that I'm familiar with them is an understatement. The Light That Dwells in Rotten Wood is one of my all-time favorite black metal albums. It's an absolutely perfect blend of atmospheric black metal and acoustic American folk music, and what's becoming one of my all-time favorites, Panopticon's last album, being Kentucky, which was a phenomenal blend of Kentucky bluegrass and atmospheric black metal. So to say that I was excited for this split was a total understatement. What you get with this split is 2 tracks from Falls of Rauros and 4 tracks from Panopticon. But don't let the sound of 2 tracks from Falls of Rauros deter you from thinking that their side's going to be lackluster. It's anything but, and the length of that side is equal to the length of the Panopticon side. So there's no one band overpowering another. The split starts off with the Falls of Rauros side, and that being Unveiling. If you're familiar with the Falls of Rauros style of black metal, you already know the deal. You already know it's going to be extremely atmospheric, it's going to be very much rooted in black metal, but there's going to be acoustic passages. This time around it's a bit more raw black metal influenced, and that's a good thing, and you can tell that this is what they were going for. You can tell that the inspirations for this was pretty much true Norwegian black metal. And that is what is the root of inspiration for this fantastic split. Both bands spending time together in Norway. More specifically, Austin of Panopticon and his wife went to Norway, and I believe 2 members of Falls of Rauros went along, and the trip left such an impact on them that they decided to do this Brotherhood split. And you can tell that Norwegian black metal is a big influence, but Falls of Rauros really cling to that American black metal sound that they're really starting to hone in and make their own. This time around, it's, if you want to say in terms of musical progression, it's a step back from The Light That Dwells in Rotten Wood, because it's much more of a stripped-down, basic, traditional black metal experience for the most part, minus the acoustic passages that are thrown in for good measure here and there and sparsely throughout these 2 tracks. They provide very nice breaks from the ripping black metal that is within these 2 songs. Unveiling, the way it starts off with just this great feedback screech and the kick drum and snare and hi-hat, and then boom, it comes in, and you know what you're in store for the next 20 minutes. And I gotta say, their side is absolutely fantastic. In terms of production, it's a bit more on the raw side when compared to The Light That Dwells in Rotten Wood, but with that said, this more raw approach to the music makes more sense for what they're doing, and therefore it works extremely well in the context of this split. The vocals, they have that really high-pitch shriek sort of quality that I love Falls of Rauros for, and I love to hear in atmospheric black metal. It's by far one of my favorite vocal styles in black metal. So to hear that being utilized is absolutely fantastic. The Falls of Rauros side did not disappoint at all. It's still Falls of Rauros, it's still atmospheric black metal, and it's still a tribute to bands such as Ulver. It's still a tribute to old, enslaved, and classic Burzum, it sounds like, to me personally at least. I don't know if that's what they were really going for, but from what I've been able to read, it was Norwegian black metal, and those are the ones that really stand out to me as being an influence, especially Old Satyricon. So if you're a fan of that sort of stuff, but you still like Falls of Rauros, then I definitely recommend you check this out. And if you're not already a fan of Falls of Rauros and you want to get into them, this would be a good place to start and then work your way back into their discography. Now we move on to the Panopticon side. This side was extremely anticipated for me, considering I absolutely love everything that Panopticon has done. Just amazing, amazing discography. Panopticon throughout the years has made an evolution of being more straight up atmospheric black metal to being not so much straight up as more almost folk metal at points, with the influence of American and Kentucky bluegrass and American folk music. To me, that is something that I absolutely love and respect both of these bands for, but especially Panopticon with how they've utilized it, or I should say how he's utilized it on, let's say, Kentucky, for example. It's a very good blend that really helps add to this feeling of a true identity within the music. And that identity is something that I've really known Panopticon for, is that real understanding of where they're from and where he's been and what he's all about. And with this, it really lacks that sort of folky element that he's been known for, especially with the last album. But with that said, it's anything but bad. It's actually quite stellar. Just so many different moods and tones within this. Not so much focused on the folk side as much as, let's say, Falls of Rauros. They had a bit more folk on their side, whereas this is more pure, straight-up atmospheric black metal that really reminds me of good old-fashioned Norwegian black metal, along with some American black metal, such as Wolves in the Throne Room, who are one of my all-time favorite bands. If this is something that you're into, then you're really going to like this. If you're not really into that style, then I wouldn't say check this out. But with that said, this side goes through so many different changes in terms of tempo and speed, and the way the songs are written and constructed. They have this very raw sort of quality to them, where it feels like there wasn't as much time spent on making the progression of each song flow as well as, let's say, Kentucky. But with that said, it adds to the chaotic vibe of it. You get this sense of order and chaos within this side of the split. And for me, that's something that I really love. And it's something I can't get enough of. The atmospheres that just come off of this split are just absolutely drenched in fog. And you can just smell the pine. And that's something that I really love, especially on Through the Mountains I Wandered this evening. And probably one of my favorite song titles I've read in the last few years, Can You Loan Me a Raven? Just absolutely stellar atmospheric black metal. The production quality is once again a bit more raw than the previous release, but with that said, it adds to the atmosphere and doesn't really take away from anything, since this is a much different experience than, let's say, Kentucky or previous albums. Trying to think of the title of the album I'm thinking of, A Sense of Normality, I believe it is. Absolutely fantastic album. Or Social Disturbances, great stuff. It kind of brings back more of a vibe of that, but much better mixed than those albums. If you're familiar with them, the mixing on them, in my opinion, is pretty awful, but it works. And this is a still rough mix, but it's very precise and clean and to the point what they're doing, so it's not relying on the production as a crutch. And that's something I gotta say about both sides of the split, is they do not rely on a raw production as a crutch to create their atmospheres. Instead, they utilize moods within riffs and note chains and stuff like that to really bring forth the atmospheric black metal vibe that I love so much. If you guys are into this style, I recommend you pick this up. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and I gotta say it was well worth the wait. Fantastic artwork. I gotta say that this album cover is by far one of the best I've seen in a long time. And of course, Theodore Kettleson artwork on the back, especially to show the Norwegian influence. It comes with a download card, which I'm not going to show for obvious reasons. Comes with a very nice lyric sheet, which I gotta say, I love to read. I wish a Panopticon side had lyrics, but with that said, the Falls of Rauros lyrics are absolutely stellar. The version I got is sold out. I got the white vinyl, one of the whitest vinyls I've ever seen, and my version came with 2 patches, one respectively of Panopticon and of Falls of Rauros. With all this said, you can still pick up the black vinyl for $16, I believe, through Binder and Recordings website. Highly recommend you do so. Free shipping in the US. If you live outside of it, you'll have to pay for shipping. But I'm telling you, no matter what the cost is, this is well worth the cost. Absolutely phenomenal split. Something I can't get enough of, and I can't recommend enough to you guys. So for a score overall, I am going to give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. Can't recommend this enough, and if you're a fan of this style, definitely check it out. That's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and as always, keep it metal.